After a marathon schedule of high-profile diplomatic meets, addresses and bilaterals in Europe, the American President Joe Biden is expecting to sign his ambitious bills back home in the Oval Office. But the bills might not just move forward as smoothly as the president expected them to, because two moderate Democratic senators have demanded major changes to Biden's $1.7 trillion budget proposal. First, let's understand what the House Democrats want. Now, there are two bills under Joe Biden's Build Back Better agenda, the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill and the $1.7 trillion social spending bill. Now, the infrastructure bill has already passed the Senate last week, and the House Democrats were expecting to pass both the bills through the House by Tuesday. But one of their own party members has come out against the social.
Much of it's already been said, but thank you for your partnership, thank you for your ambition, and now I'm going to turn it back to Secretary Kerry. I believe he's still here. There he is. And I thank you all so very much.
My pleasure to introduce the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. Thank you, John. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Ursula. We all want to build a cleaner and healthier future for our kids. And that means taking real climate action.
And encourage more countries to join us in committing to reducing methane globally, because the more that can join and should. I want to thank you again. Much more to say, but much of it's already been said. But thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your ambition. And now I'm going to turn it back to Secretary Kerry. I believe he's still here. There he is. And I thank you all so very much.
Well, this creates new doubts about the spending bill in question because the House Democrats have a narrow three-person margin, and any major defections or disagreements can potentially sink the bill altogether. Senator Joe Manchin is a pivotal vote in an evenly split Senate. He wants the Senate to vote on the spending bill before it moves forward to the House of Representatives. And the Democratic Party require lockstep unity in the 50-50 evenly split Senate and aim for a near total support in the House of Representatives. Simply put, Democrats need Manchin's vote to pass the rest of Biden's climate and social spending agenda. In addition to hoping to pass two major bills, Congress faces critical deadlines to avoid a government shutdown and avert an unprecedented default on federal government debts. Well, for more on this, we have WION's correspondent Susan Tarani joining us live from New York. Well, Susan, look, it's been quite a mess. The Democrat agenda being held up essentially by just one man. What are the chances, do you think, of this being sorted out this week as the Biden administration had hoped for?
Depends on how you look at it. First of all, this week would probably be a long stretch, but some might say that the voice of reason would be Joe Manchin, considering the fact that perhaps the Progressive Caucus of the Democratic Party really is holding hostage the infrastructure bill and the Build Back Better bill in a way for it to get its version and every possible outcome that it wants out of this Build Back Better deal, and then, move forward. Remember, until Thursday, when Joe Biden was here in the United States, the progressives in the Democratic Party were not willing to compromise with Joe Manchin or anyone else in the Democratic Party. And then they sort of changed course and said, okay, we'll start to compromise with everyone else if, these two bills go ahead. And then Joe Manchin and the more centrist Democrats behind closed doors are now saying that, now, hold on, wait a minute, we're not going to move forward until we know exactly what's going on in this Build Back Better deal, because they just simply don't believe that it's going to cost $1.7 trillion, and it's going to cost a lot more for the American people. putting the details aside, this week might be a long stretch. Maybe the infrastructure bill will move forward, but President Biden is in a very difficult situation right now, and somewhat of an awkward situation, if you may, considering the fact that his social spending deal has so much of climate issues and methane emission built into it, and he's in Glasgow and was, pushing for a climate agenda on the one hand on the international stage, and his own party really can't come up with a climate spending bill here at home. So yes, it is a messy situation on the one hand, but on the other hand, it is a bill that's really not clear cut for the American people and the majority of the Democratic Party. And I think that these representatives are concerned that what's happening with this bill will affect them in 2022. So each one to their own, they're thinking of their re-election as well. And that's why we're seeing this messy situation, if you will.
Yeah, Susan, you mentioned very difficult timing. You also mentioned 2022, the crucial midterms next year. Joe Biden just last week said that his presidency could be in jeopardy if these bills don't pass. If they are held up longer than they already have been, how detrimental do you think this could be for Joe Biden?
It's interesting, we're having this conversation at a time when Virginians are going to vote on a new governor. It's a very tight governor's race between a Republican and a Democrat, a state where Joe Biden won in double digits just a few months ago. And right now, anything is on the line. And if we see a Republican governor win, it's really going to set the country's mindset on a new path on how difficult it's going to be for the Democrats to win the hearts and minds of the American people. So that election is very important. We have elections for governorships in New Jersey as well. We have a mayoral election here in New York as well. But it is very difficult for the Democratic Party and Joe Biden himself, because he essentially ran on this Build Back Better agenda. This was his campaign promise. And let alone, never mind reaching across the aisle to the Republican Party. He can't even get his own party to agree on this right now at this point. And, some might argue that this is a crisis of his own making. People voted for a moderate. They didn't vote for the progressive Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party, which is somewhat holding hostage these bills, and they want their, really aggressive social spending agendas built into these bills. But, it is what it is. Yeah, it is. It's important. It's important for Joe Biden. It's important for the Democratic Party, and the Republicans are sitting back and watching and seeing how it's going to all play out.
Thank you, Susan. That was Susan Tarani live for us in New York City.